My fiancé's adoptive sister got pregnant. He said it was an accident, told me to quit my job to take care of her, and even wanted me to claim the child as mine. I immediately married someone else. But then he crashed my wedding, claiming he only loved me. Yet, when he was flirting with his adoptive sister, why didn't he think of me? Now that he's lost everyone, all I feel is satisfaction. At the wedding rehearsal site, Ethan Miller's adoptive sister suddenly gagged. Panicked, he rushed her to the hospital. Half an hour later, the phone rang. She's pregnant. I was about to offer congratulations, but his voice was frighteningly calm. It's mine. She had just broken up with someone that night, shivering from the rain and cold. I just held her to keep her warm. I didn't expect. We have to keep this from Mom and Dad. I'll bring her back to the house to take care of her until the baby is born. The wedding will be postponed for a year. You go explain and apologize to the guests. My throat tightened, and I couldn't utter a single word. He continued, oh, right, you need to quit your job immediately. Chloe needs someone to look after her. There can't be any accidents these next few months. I suddenly laughed. Okay. He hung up, satisfied. But he didn't know that I had made a bet with someone. If I wasn't married before I turned 30, I would marry him. And today was my 30th birthday. Perhaps my calmness was too abnormal. 3 seconds after the call ended, Ethan Miller called again. Olivia, I'm sorry. This is my fault. But believe me, I only see Chloe as a sister. The baby truly is an accident. I gave a self-mocking laugh. Ah yes, such deep sibling affection. So touching, warming up all the way into bed. There was a clear pause on the other end, followed by his helpless sigh. I understand you're angry, you can yell at me, hit me. But Chloe is still in school, pregnant out of wedlock, and she can't say who the father is. She's from the orphanage. Even though Mom and Dad adopted her and treat her like their own daughter, the Miller family won't accept this kind of thing. They'll definitely kick her out. So I hope you can claim the baby as yours. Since you'll be home after quitting your job, no one will suspect it's not your child. Tilting my head back to push away the heat in my eyes, I said in a dry voice, Ethan Miller, let's not get married. Not get married? He was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly roared, Olivia, what is wrong with you? Didn't you say we'd been together for 5 years and insisted we get the wedding done quickly? Now the entire social circle knows you're Ethan Miller's fiancé. Do you think marriage is a game? Olivia, when did you become so willful? I could imagine his furrowed brow. Sure enough, the next second I heard him threaten, Miss Olivia, I'll ask you one last time. Do you really not want to go through with this wedding? My fingers gripped the phone tightly. With a bitter smile, I said, yes, I don't want you anymore, Ethan Miller. He scoffed, I don't have time for your games. Do what you want. The phone was slammed down. I stood in the center of the ballroom. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, I ripped off my veil and turned to run out. Mr. and Mrs. Miller quickly blocked my path. Mr. Miller spoke first, Olivia, what madness is this? Just because Ethan took his sister to the hospital, you're going to ruin this wedding? Make the Miller family a laughingstock in front of hundreds of guests? Mrs. Miller scoffed and chimed in, I said long ago this wasn't suitable. The Miller family is a family of scholars, while the Davis family is just a nouveau riche family. You're not a good match. But Ethan insisted, so I couldn't do anything. Look, now we're a joke. Mr. Miller sneered, fine, fine. It's better not to marry. It saves us the trouble of her temperament offending people and ruining the Miller family's reputation. Ethan Miller was clearly in the wrong first, yet these two were blaming me. I clutched the veil tightly, my fingertips trembling. The wedding was canceled by Ethan Miller. As for the specific reason, you two should ask him. I'm too ashamed to say. Hearing it was Ethan Miller's decision, they somehow became even more self-righteous. Even if Ethan canceled it, you're the bride. You just ran off without a word. Shouldn't you apologize to everyone present? How did your mom and dad raise you? You don't even understand basic social etiquette. How could you ever be a daughter-in-law in the Miller family? I took a deep breath. I won't be marrying into the Miller family. If you two don't have anything else to say, please step aside. You. Their faces instantly changed, clearly not expecting me, who was usually docile, to be so forceful. Ignoring them, I walked straight past them towards the dressing room. Mrs. Miller shouted furiously behind me, "Ill-mannered girl." In the dressing room, someone was already waiting. His athletic wear highlighted his broad shoulders and long legs. Sunlight streamed in from the side, outlining his sharp profile. Only the dark circles under his eyes betrayed him. He probably hadn't slept well. Seeing me enter, he uncrossed his arms and straightened up, a familiar, irritating grin on his face. I turned my face away. Didn't someone swear they wouldn't attend my wedding? He suddenly leaned closer, his warm breath brushing my ear. In the instant our eyes met, I suddenly saw the stubborn boy from 10 years ago. Olivia, a bet is a bet. I pursed my lips and said nothing. He suddenly grew anxious. You forgot? I don't care. We're getting married in 3 days. If you don't show up, he paused, as if bracing himself. I'll move into the Davis residence and live with your family. After saying that, as if afraid of hearing my rejection, he quickly slipped out the door. I suddenly burst out laughing. That idiot, of course, I remembered the bet. Our families were old friends, we grew up together. We were too close to ever be lovers. 10 years ago, he confessed his feelings, and I said let's just be friends. He looked hurt and insisted on making a bet with me. I never expected that in the end, I would lose. Just after I changed out of my wedding dress, Ethan Miller sent me a photo. All my belongings were piled up like trash outside the house. The family heirloom quilt my mom had sewn by hand was the most jarring sight. It was carelessly stuffed into a transparent plastic bag, its bright red satin stinging my eyes in the sunlight. Come get your stuff now. If you don't, I'll tell Martha to throw it away. I stared at the screen, my fingertips cold. He knew exactly how to manipulate me. I could abandon everything else, but I had to get that quilt back. Okay, I'm coming. My mom had spent 3 months working on that quilt. Someone who never touched a needle had fingers covered in pinpricks of blood. The night before the wedding, she had smiled and given me the quilt, saying, "My daughter, may you have a lifetime of happiness." But when I arrived, the entrance was empty. Only half an hour. I had clearly said I was coming. Was he really in such a hurry to kick me out? Anger flared up. I shoved open the front door of the house and rushed inside. The moment I pushed the door open, I felt like plunging into an ice pit. Chloe Miller was sitting on the edge of the dining table. Ethan Miller had his hands on her waist, his face pressed against her swelling belly, his eyes gentle to the point of being blinding. "Ethan," Chloe Miller suddenly exclaimed softly, "the baby kicked me." Ethan Miller pressed himself closer immediately, a smile lifting the corners of his mouth with an expression I had never seen before. "So mischievous, just like you were as a child." When he looked up, his gaze was so soft it seemed to drip with tenderness. "I wish the baby's eyes were like yours." Chloe Miller smiled, pressing her lips together. Ethan Miller expertly dropped a kiss on her lips, his tone suddenly turning regretful. "Are you really sure you want to leave after the baby is born? Actually, you could stay. I can take care of you and the child. How can such a young baby be without their own mother?" Chloe Miller placed her index finger against his lips and shook her head. "Ethan, if I don't leave, what about Olivia?" Hearing the word Olivia, Ethan Miller clearly froze for a moment, then his face darkened. "Her? She's just being spiteful talking about breaking up now. Once the baby is born, won't she come begging me to come back and help raise it? A daughter from a merchant family like hers, all she sees is profit. What dignity could she possibly have? Have you forgotten how eager she was to be my girlfriend back then? That annoying look on her face. Thinking about it now still makes me sick." My tears fell silently. So my courageous confession all those years ago had disgusted him for so long. The Miller family was the foremost calligraphy family in Willow Creek. Ethan Miller was the youngest renowned calligrapher in Willow Creek. 5 years ago, he came to my dad with his calligraphy work to seek investment for the Oakmont Institute. My dad praised him highly and specifically introduced him to me. It was love at first sight for me. I shamelessly insisted on learning calligraphy from him. He was so angry he pointed at me and yelled, "Stupid. Absolutely no talent." I grinned cheekily, "Then be my boyfriend, we'd be a perfect match." He glanced at Chloe Miller, who was writing with her head down, then suddenly took my hand and gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Fine." I jumped up happily and hugged him, completely missing Chloe Miller's retreating figure as she ran out, and his instantly stiffened arms. Only now did I understand that his heart had always belonged to Chloe Miller. No wonder he never taught me calligraphy again after that, and wouldn't even let me into his study. My chest felt tight and bitter. I had wanted to turn and leave, but then I remembered the quilt my mom had sewn. I couldn't lose it. "Olivia!" Ethan Miller suddenly turned, a sarcastic smirk on his lips. "What are you doing lurking by the door? Your things have all been thrown out. Regretting it now?" I dug my nails into my palms. "Where is my quilt? Give it back." He paused, his face growing colder. "A tattered old quilt, why would I care? My mom sewed that by hand." My voice started to tremble. "Give it back to me, and I'll leave immediately." Seeing I was about to cry, he frowned. "You're crying. Are you crazy? Is it that big of a deal?" "Yes, it is," I shouted, and the tears finally streamed down. Ethan Miller tugged at his tie in frustration, looking as if he wanted to speak but couldn't. Chloe Miller, sitting nearby, suddenly seemed to remember something and quickly spoke up. "Olivia, don't yell at Ethan anymore. It was me who asked the staff to put your things in the guest room." As she spoke, she gently stroked her belly, and tears instantly welled up. "Olivia, can you please not move out? If it's because of the baby, I can get rid of him. His coming was a mistake anyway. Neither of you wants him." Before she could finish, she was already sobbing uncontrollably. "I forbid it!" Ethan Miller's voice was almost out of control. Trembling, he pulled Chloe Miller tightly into his arms and turned to glare at me fiercely. "She can leave, but don't you dare touch my child. Now, you and the baby are my everything. Olivia, if this is why you came here, get out." I scoffed and walked straight towards the guest room. The family heirloom quilt was carelessly thrown on the floor, stained with dirt and vomit. The original dragon and phoenix embroidery was filthy. My fingers trembled as I pointed at the quilt. "Chloe Miller, explain this." She shrank back timidly. "I didn't mean to. I just suddenly felt sick." Saying that, she started to bend down to pick it up. "Olivia, please don't be angry, I'll help you wash it." But as soon as she bent over, she cried out in pain. "Ah!" My stomach hurt so much. Ethan Miller rushed over and shoved me violently to the floor. The back of my head hit the foot of the bed hard. The moment the sharp pain exploded, warm liquid trickled down my temple. I bit my lip and didn't make a sound, just smiled and looked at Ethan Miller, wanting to see if he had any heart at all. Holding Chloe Miller, his cold, sharp eyes showed extreme disgust. "How much?" "I'll pay." "I'm begging you, stop this nonsense. Do you get some twisted satisfaction from tormenting me and Chloe with such insignificant things?" My heart felt like it had been pierced. He had always been distant with me before, but he had never looked at me with such eyes. Now, he must truly hate me. Suddenly, it all felt completely pointless. Why bother staying here and making him annoyed? I gave in. The quilt was dirty, I didn't want it anymore. And this man, who had become tainted, I didn't want him anymore either. I pushed myself up. "Ethan Miller, I don't need your money." As I turned to leave, he suddenly grabbed me, a hint of helplessness in his expression. "You're upset today. Go back to the Davis residence and calm down for a few days. I'll come get you in 3 days." I shook off his hand and quickly left. This home we had built together over several years. In the end, I was just a visitor. The Davis residence. I had already explained the wedding fiasco to my mom and dad. Seeing me return, my mom let out a long sigh of relief. "My daughter, your mom is actually thanking heaven and earth. What would you have done if you'd found out after you were married?" The Miller family always looked down on us for being tainted by money from business, yet their family of scholars raised someone so shameless. Dad sighed softly, "Don't say all that. Oh, your daughter is hurting. I've already had my assistant withdraw all investment from the Oakmont Institute. From now on, the Davis Corporation will have nothing to do with the Miller family." I was just hesitating whether to mention Ryan Davis, when my mom suddenly said, "Oh, that's right, Ryan Davis came today. He even brought the engagement gift." She took a velvet box from the coffee table drawer. "That boy is certainly quick." She opened the box. Inside were a pair of family heirloom bracelets. Only then did I truly realize that Ryan Davis was serious about the wedding in 3 days. Night fell. Chloe Miller sent me a message. "Olivia, please come back. I'll move out right away, and I don't want the baby anymore. You and Ethan have 5 years of history. It can't be ruined because of me. I'll feel guilty forever." I stared at the screen and scoffed. If she wanted to make a scene, she should go to her brother. Why come to me? I replied with 2 words, "Whatever." Then, I decisively blocked her. After doing that, I leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window, staring blankly, a sense of melancholy lingering in my heart. My phone suddenly vibrated. A video call invitation from Ryan Davis popped up. "Olivia," his eyes sparkled on the screen. "Make a heart shape for me." I was stunned. Why suddenly, a heart shape? How cheesy. "I don't care," he said, leaning closer to the camera like a spoiled child. "Right now." Amused by his childish expression, I reluctantly quickly made a heart shape, getting goosebumps myself. He immediately clutched his chest, closed his eyes, and made an exaggerated expression of delight. When he opened his eyes again, he suddenly winked at me with his right eye. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. "Look outside. That's my return gift for you." He prompted me with a soft laugh, and the video call ended abruptly. The night sky outside the window suddenly lit up. Hundreds of drones formed a shimmering heart, then formed into a line of text, "Olivia, happy birthday." Tears instantly blurred my vision. Today's farce had made me forget even my own birthday. But he remembered. Even if it was a bit cheesy, I felt his sincerity, and I really liked it. As for Ethan Miller, every year for my birthday, he would just pick up his brush and write the words "Happy Birthday." He wouldn't even include my name. "My calligraphy work has collection value," he would explain every time. "If I put your name on it, no one would want to collect it." This year, he simply said, "Too busy with wedding preparations, no time to write." But his so-called wedding preparations. I tried on wedding dresses at over 20 shops by myself. I compared over 30 quotes to book the venue. I stayed up all night writing over 300 handwritten invitations. The only thing he participated in was managing to spare 5 minutes to come when I was trying on the main dress, but he spent the entire time staring at his watch. It turned out his lack of love for me had always been apparent. My heart suddenly clenched. I quickly tilted my head back and blinked away tears. I had already shed too many tears today. At least on my birthday, I wanted to keep some dignity for myself. In my sleep, my phone vibrated. I groggily pressed the answer button. Ethan Miller's voice roared through the line, "Olivia, get to the hospital immediately. Something's happened to Chloe." I woke up instantly. Was the message she sent serious? Without even changing clothes, I rushed out the door in my pajamas and slippers. When I arrived at the hospital room, I saw Chloe Miller sitting comfortably against the headboard, while Ethan Miller was gently peeling an apple for her. They were a picture of serene domesticity, while I stood there like a clown in my slippers, one foot half slipped out. Seeing me appear, Ethan Miller suddenly erupted. He yanked me over to the bedside. "Get on your knees for Chloe." I looked up, St. Art led. Before I could react, I felt a heavy kick to the back of my knee. My knee slammed hard onto the floor, the piercing pain rendering me unable to move for a moment. "Ethan Miller, are you insane?" I glared at him fiercely. His eyes surged with terrifying rage. "Chloe cut her wrists. She almost endangering both lives. Don't talk about me being insane, I genuinely want to kill you right now." Chloe Miller timely began to sob. Ethan, I messaged Olivia to apologize, but she blocked me. Olivia must hate me to death. She doesn't want to see me anymore, does she? What's the point of me being alive? Although I detested her, I didn't want to be responsible for someone's death. I quickly looked up and examined her. There was a half-centimeter long cut on her wrist, covered in iodine, already scabbed over. This was an attempted suicide? A wave of sorrow washed over me. I pulled my lips into a smile. Ethan Miller, if I had come tomorrow, would her wound have already healed? He instantly bristled. Olivia, how can you be so vicious? If I hadn't found her in time. Do you know what the consequences of a pregnant woman losing too much blood are? This was probably the blindness that comes with concern. A small cut made him completely lose his composure, while he completely ignored the blood dripping from my temple. He must be completely infatuated with Chloe Miller. My heart felt like a stone tied to it, sinking straight down. I frowned and remained silent. This seemed to completely enrage him. He threw the knife at me and said fiercely, since you think it's no big deal, make the same cut yourself and taste the pain. This is what you owe Chloe. Looking at him in disbelief, this was the man I had been so devotedly in love with for 5 years. In that instant, my heart turned completely cold. It's just a cut, isn't it? I'll give her one back. Lowering my gaze to hide the tears in my eyes, I picked up the knife and lightly cut my wrist. Chloe Miller S. Creaked in fright. Struggling, I stood up and held out my hand in front of Ethan Miller. Is that enough? Blood dripped continuously. His eyelashes fluttered rapidly, and he glanced at it with disgust. He immediately turned to comfort the startled Chloe Miller, muttering curses under his breath. Who told you to cut so deep? You're hopelessly stupid. I smiled silently and stumbled towards the door. He suddenly tossed out a line, Olivia, go back to the Davis residence and reflect properly. I'll pick you up in 3 days. I laughed, tears streaming down my face. Ethan Miller, we will never see each other again. Ethan Miller had been mentally and physically exhausted these past few days. He had to take care of Chloe Miller, who could have issues at any time. He also had to find ways to hide his and Chloe's situation from Mom and Dad. The most troublesome issue was that the Davis Corporation had withdrawn its investment, causing a break in the Miller family's cash flow and halting construction on the new branch campus that was planned. He had planned to go question Olivia about what was going on. But every time he thought of Olivia's desolate smile at the hospital, he hesitated. A voice in his heart told him he had truly gone too far this time. Olivia must still be angry. If he went to her now, she would definitely seize the opportunity to manipulate him and make him grovel and apologize. That was absolutely impossible. He had to let her cool down for a few days, otherwise, she would take advantage of him in the future. Ethan, Chloe Miller leaned weakly against the headboard, her face ashen after throwing up. Aren't you going to pick up Olivia today? Ethan Miller casually curved his lips. No rush. He knew Olivia too well. Even if he didn't go today, she would come back on her own eventually. Just like every time they had the silent treatment before, she was always the first to give in. Chloe Miller's eyes lit up at his words, and a hint of color appeared on her pale cheeks. Just then, Mom called. Ethan! The Davis residence sent an invitation. Olivia is getting married today. Getting married? Ethan Miller gripped his phone tightly. To who? He had said the wedding was postponed for a year. How could she? Besides him, who else could she marry? After a brief panic, he quickly regained his composure. Mom, she's just throwing a tantrum, it's just a prank. Don't take it seriously. Mom sounded anxious. I've sent you the pictures of the wedding motorcade and the wedding address. Go look quickly. If she really dares to betray you and flash marry someone else, I'll make a huge scene at the Davis residence. Ethan Miller's fingers trembled as he clicked on the photo. On the screen, the wedding motorcade made up of limited edition pink luxury cars was especially dazzling. Olivia stood beside a car in a white wedding dress, holding a bouquet and smiling brightly. His phone clattered to the ground. His heart felt like it was being violently squeezed by an invisible hand. Breathing suddenly became difficult. Ethan? Chloe Miller tugged at his sleeve anxiously. You look terrible. Are you okay? Ethan Miller shook his head blankly, his lips pressed into a thin line. Olivia must just be mad at you. Chloe Miller chuckled softly. She loves you so much, how could she possibly marry someone else? I've never seen her with any other men all these years. There's no way she'd flash marry. He couldn't hear what she was saying. Ethan Miller stood frozen in place, feeling utterly helpless for the first time. Suddenly, he snatched up his phone and dialed Olivia's number. Hello, the number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. The robotic female voice was like a basin of ice water poured over his head. He trembled as he opened his messages, only to find he had already been blocked. Olivia! How dare you! Ethan Miller furiously threw his phone against the wall. The screen instantly shattered. He turned and was about to rush out the door. Chloe Miller suddenly grabbed his sleeve, her face pale. Ethan, I feel like throwing up again. Could you get me some oranges? A surge of inexplicable anger shot through him. Ethan Miller fiercely shook off her hand. Olivia is marrying someone else. Do you think I have time to get you oranges? Will you die if you don't eat oranges? Chloe Miller stumbled from the shove, tears instantly welling up. It's the baby who wants them, I don't want them either. She pretended to faint, but Ethan Miller coldly stepped aside to avoid her. So annoying. If you want to cry, do it at home. The moment he slammed the door shut, he loosened his tie, which felt like it was choking him. Whether Olivia was really getting married today or not, he had to bring her back. How dare she marry someone else? The wedding location Ryan Davis chose was an old church, the very place where we made our bet all those years ago. Before the wedding, he leaned in close and whispered proudly in my ear, you know what? The moment you turned and left after we made our bet, I immediately knelt before the statue of Jesus and prayed, begging him to let me win. See? It worked. I turned my face away. Childish. He laughed like a child who had won a piece of candy. Who cares? This is the only time I've ever won a bet against you since we were kids. I'll take being called childish. The priest's deep voice rang out, Mr. Ryan Davis, do you take Ms. Olivia to be your wife? I do. Ryan Davis's voice trembled with excitement, and his hand holding mine shook slightly. Ms. Olivia, do you take? She does not. The church doors were suddenly shoved open, and Ethan Miller's figure rushed in. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. Olivia, come with me. The entire place erupted in an uproar. Before anyone could react, he had already rushed to the altar, reaching out to grab my wrist. Ryan Davis shoved Ethan Miller away and pulled me into his arms. Ethan Miller stared fixedly at Ryan Davis's arm around my waist, his voice suddenly rising. Olivia, where did you find this actor? Aren't you overdoing it? Do you really think you're the groom? You can leave now. Ryan Davis raised an eyebrow and pulled me even closer into his arms. The fury in Ethan Miller's eyes intensified. I'll say it again, I am Olivia's fiancé. I told you to get lost. Do you understand? Ryan Davis scoffed, his fist already clenched. I gently squeezed his hand, signaling him to let me handle it. Ethan Miller, I looked directly into his eyes. Wasn't I clear enough 3 days ago? Our engagement is cancelled. Today is Ryan Davis's and my wedding. I don't want to make a scene and disrupt the ceremony. Please leave now. Ethan Miller was clearly stunned, his face gradually turning ugly. Just to make me angry, you married some random person in a flash? You've always been impulsive, but this time you've really gone too far. He gritted his teeth and softened his tone. It's not too late to turn back now. I can forgive your willfulness. Without waiting for my response, he suddenly turned to the whispering guests and bowed gracefully. Excuse the interruption, everyone. My fiancé is having a childish tantrum, which led to this mistaken wedding today. Please, feel free to leave. The guests exchanged confused glances. Everyone present was family and friends of the Davis family and Ryan Davis's family. How could they possibly leave just because of a single sentence from him? I hadn't expected Ethan Miller to be this shameless. He still thought I was just throwing a tantrum. By what right did he think he could ruin Ryan Davis's and my wedding? Thinking of how Ryan Davis had pulled several all-nighters for this wedding, just to make sure everything didn't seem rushed, a surge of inexplicable anger rushed to my head. I raised my hand and delivered a stinging slap to Ethan Miller's face. Una. Flee to control myself any longer. I yelled, Ethan Miller, are you out of your mind? This is Ryan Davis's and my wedding. By what right do you think you can steal the spotlight and dismiss our guests? I am not throwing a tantrum. We are completely over. Do you understand? You say I'm slow-witted, but what about you? Are you even dumber than I am? Please, for the sake of some dignity in our breakup, get out of my wedding right now. I never want to see you again in my life. Perhaps he had never seen me so hysterical before. Ethan Miller stood there, covering his face, stunned. His voice was hoarse. But I never agreed to cancel the engagement. I just told you to go back to the Davis residence and calm down for a few days. We have so many years of history together, how can you just end it like this? Olivia, do you have any heart at all? I laughed coldly. I have no heart. You got Chloe Miller pregnant, flirted with her right in front of me, and then wanted me to be a surrogate mother, playing me for a fool. And you think you have a heart? His eyes were red-rimmed. Chloe and I are like siblings, not the kind of relationship you're thinking of. The baby was just an accident and won't affect our relationship. You are the one I love, that will never change. I scoffed inwardly. He said he loved me, but his body was honestly attracted to Chloe Miller. Not wanting to waste any more words on him, I turned to the priest and said, please continue the wedding. Ryan Davis immediately motioned for the bodyguards to come forward. Seeing the two bodyguards approach, Ethan Miller suddenly rushed forward, trying to drag me away. Scumbag! Still unrepentant even now. Ryan Davis finally reached his limit and punched Ethan Miller hard in the face. Before he could react, Ryan Davis kicked him to the ground again. Ethan Miller tumbled off the platform miserably, unable to get up for a while. As the bodyguards dragged him towards the exit, he kept looking back at me. Tears and blood mixed together. He forced a smile that was uglier than a cry. Just as he was dragged to the church entrance, he ran into Mr. Miller, whose face was filled with rage. Mr. Miller raised his hand and delivered a heavy slap, roaring, "Animal!" After Ethan Miller was taken away by Mr. Miller, the wedding ceremony continued. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Ryan Davis pulled me into his arms. His hot palm pressed against my back, his fervent gaze as if trying to brand me into his sight. Is this okay? Before I could even react, his kiss landed on my lips. Unlike his usual restraint, this kiss carried a sense of claiming me, yet it was so tender it made my heart tremble. The guests erupted in enthusiastic applause and cheers. The farce from moments ago felt like it had never happened. When we were taking the group photo, Mom suddenly came over, shaking her phone with a sly smile. My daughter, Mom just sent the video of you yelling at Ethan Miller to the Miller family group chat. After the siblings did such a shameful thing, let's see how they can show their faces in the social circle. Dad burst out laughing. Old man Miller cares most about his reputation. He's probably going to break his son's legs now. I looked up and exchanged a smile with Ryan Davis. The photographer clicked the shutter just then. In the photo, everyone's smile was genuine and bright. The gloom that had been weighing on my heart for days finally dissipated. At the Miller estate, Ethan Miller was kneeling stiffly upright. Chloe Miller sat beside him, shoulders hunched, her face pale. Whack! Mr. Miller raised the thick cane used for discipline and struck Ethan Miller heavily on the back. 1, 2, 3 times. Ethan Miller suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood and fell forward. Mrs. Miller kept wiping away tears nearby but didn't dare step forward because of Mr. Miller's stern gaze. Mr. Miller turned to Chloe Miller, his voice as cold as ice. We adopted you from the orphanage and treated you like our own daughter. How could you do something like this with Ethan? You've completely disgraced the Miller family. Tomorrow, go to the hospital and get rid of the baby, then we'll send you abroad. You're not allowed to return for 10 years. Chloe Miller immediately crawled forward on her knees and kept kowtowing. Dad, please. The baby is innocent. Can't you let me give birth to him? I've liked Ethan since I was little, but I knew the Miller family wouldn't approve of us being together. This is his and my baby, and also the Miller family's first grandchild. Please, just let me have him? Mrs. Miller finally couldn't help herself and quietly persuaded, maybe, just let them be together. I watched Chloe grow up, I know her well. After all, she's adopted, there's no blood relation. You don't have to force them apart. Mr. Miller's expression softened slightly. He poked Ethan Miller on the ground with the cane used for discipline. What about you? What do you say? Ethan Miller struggled to lift his head, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. I only see Chloe as a sister. Animal! Mr. Miller's eyes were bloodshot. The cane kept falling. See her as a sister? Then how the hell could you do that? Is the Miller family short on women for you? I don't care what you think. Go get your marriage license tomorrow. No wedding, the Miller family can't afford this disgrace. Chloe Miller, her eyes blurred with tears, reached out to grab Ethan Miller's hand. Ethan, we can finally be together. Get off me! Ethan Miller used all his strength to shake her off. Dad, I told you, I only see her as a sister. The only person I will marry is Olivia. If you insist on me marrying Chloe, then just beat me to death today. Chloe Miller trembled all over. That night, didn't you tell me to stay with you? You goddamn seduced me that night. Ethan Miller suddenly exploded. If you hadn't taken off your clothes and came on to me, how could it have? Chloe Miller, it's all your fault. Otherwise, Olivia wouldn't have left me. Bastard! Mr. Miller picked up the cane used for discipline and brought it down on him relentlessly, until Ethan Miller was coughing up blood and collapsed limply on the ground, and Chloe Miller cried until she fainted. Amidst the wail of the ambulance sirens, paramedics carried out 2 stretchers. Ethan Miller had 3 broken ribs, and Chloe Miller was wearing an oxygen mask. When I returned from my honeymoon, a month had passed. Work had piled up, so I stayed late working, waiting for Ryan Davis to pick me up. Stepping out of the office building, the cold wind of the winter night hit me. Ethan Miller was leaning by the entrance, smoking. Seeing me come out, he immediately stubbed out his cigarette and walked quickly towards me. Olivia. His voice was a little hoarse. Before I could even react, he pulled me into a tight hug. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, okay? His arms were wrapped tightly around me, as if he wanted to knead me into his very being. I've thought about you every day this past month. I can't take it anymore. I could feel his tears soaking my shoulder. This man, who had always been so calm and composed, was holding me and crying like a lost child. I can't live without you. For you, I endured Dad's cane used for discipline. I came looking for you as soon as I was discharged from the hospital. But the Davis residence had the security guards chase me away, so I could only wait here. His tears were burning hot, but my heart was completely calm. I know I was wrong, I really know. He cupped my face, his voice trembling. I won't marry Chloe Miller. She seduced me. I don't want the baby either. Finally, he said in the gentlest tone, Olivia, will you divorce that man? Let's start over. I rolled my eyes and pushed him away forcefully. Don't come crying to me. That trick doesn't work on me. Ethan Miller's face instantly turned ashen. His wounded expression was starkly visible under the streetlights. I scoffed. Putting on a show of deep affection now? It was far too late. I had intended to just leave, but suddenly I wanted him to experience the heartbreak I felt that day when I heard Chloe Miller was pregnant. I curved my lips into a smile and looked directly into his eyes. I'm pregnant. It's Ryan Davis's child. I paused deliberately. If we were to start over, would you be willing to accept this child as yours? His pupils contracted sharply, and he stumbled, clutching the wall for support. After a long time, he said in a hoarse voice, Olivia, for you, I'm willing to be the father of this child. In your dreams. Ryan Davis's voice suddenly came from behind me. He strode forward, pulling me into his arms right in front of Ethan Miller, a mocking smile on his lips. Ethan Miller, are you some kind of stubborn rash that just won't go away? Make my wife divorce me? Be a father to my child? He looked Ethan Miller up and down contemptuously. Do you even deserve to? You. Ethan Miller, the renowned calligraphy master who had always been so arrogant, had never been humiliated like this before. He was speechless. I coughed lightly, feeling awkward. Ryan Davis suddenly scooped me up into his arms. His voice was so gentle it seemed to drip with tenderness. Don't stand for too long when you're pregnant. Then he whispered, gritting his teeth, in my ear, he hugged you just now, huh? My ear tips instantly burned. Ryan Davis was being jealous. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan Miller standing rooted to the spot, his face full of bitterness. I casually tossed out a remark, Ethan Miller, I was just teasing you. Don't take it seriously. Ryan Davis gave him a chilling glance and carried me into the car, satisfied. As the car started, I caught a glimpse of Chloe Miller's frantic figure in the rearview mirror. She shrieked, rowing herself at Ethan Miller. Why don't you want me? I hate you. Ethan Miller's back visibly slumped. I looked away and turned to the pouting person beside me, reaching out to pinch his cheek. Mr. Davis, if you keep looking so grumpy, I'm going to get angry. He sighed helplessly, then suddenly cupped the back of my head and kissed me deeply. Are you not mad anymore? Later, I heard from Mom and Dad's gossip that Chloe Miller had stabbed Ethan Miller several times that night. Seeing him in a pool of blood, she cried heartbrokenly, then turned and cut her own wrists. Ultimately, Chloe Miller could not be saved. She passed away, taking the unborn child with her. Although Ethan Miller survived, he was completely broken. He drank constantly, his mind unclear, eventually becoming a homeless person. The day I heard the news, I dug out the birthday gifts he had given me over the years. The 4 calligraphy works that read Happy Birthday fetched an astronomical price at auction. Truly worthy of a master calligrapher's masterpiece. Just as he said, without a signature, it was worth even more.